Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to the second class, but actually we are covering chapter 1, and all the glories to Swami Puri Maharaj for giving this treasure for us. Today we will cover the chapter 1, which is of the art of sadhana, titled Perfection of Worship. So let us start. Every one of us, like other jivas in this world, are in a journey. Every train we take is a new life. And we have been taking so many trains again and again and again. We cannot even count. While in our journey, we meet so many people sharing our compartment, and we become friends with the fellow passengers and share our stories. We laugh together. We even share our foods with them and enjoy our journey. But all these journeys are temporary. It ends at predetermined time. Then when the time comes, we get out of the train, saying bye to all of those and depart from our temporary relatives and friends. Then we forget them all and mingle with the crowd to catch our next train. And we meet new friends there. So our journey goes on like this forever. In between, we marry someone, we get some children, we get some grandchildren, and so on and so on. It is foolish to think that they are all our permanent relations. We had millions and millions of relations across so many lives. This is just one of them we are in now, and many more to come. Hopefully not. One day for sure, we have to get down from the journey we are right now to catch our next journey, next train. After we die, we are nobody to them. This is the reality. So our life is actually like a bubble that will burst and vanish. For surely it will burst, and we will cease to exist. Our lives on the material worlds have been similar to the bubbles. It will eventually burst. We should understand that actually we do not have any real relation to any of the material worlds, that we have been wandering in millions and millions of births. That is why the Shastras say, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest. What is the highest highest in the planetary system is Lord Brahma. So all the way from their highest planet to the lowest, all the places are, there are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kundi, they will never take birth again. So, what is the higher fact about these relations that we have talked now? There are two things we are related to. One is we are permanently related to Bhagavan, and also temporarily related to Prakriti. What is Prakriti? Prakriti means material worlds. That means so many Brahmandas, so many galaxies and planetary systems. We are born and dead again and again and again. This has been going on. So, a jiva, as ourselves, we have two relations. One is a permanent relation, that is with Krishna, and a temporary relation to the Prakriti. And the Prakriti is controlled by Krishna. That has nothing to do with ours. We don't have the relation, that kind of relation. So, of all these, only one relation is real, which is the permanent one, that is a jiva has with Bhagavan Krishna. All other relations are temporary, like the relations in the train journey that I was talking about. We have been going through millions and millions of birth and death and various planetary systems, and Brahmanda, Brahmite, Kona, so many planetary systems. So, but our illusory mind is cheating. Okay, just 1 second. Okay. So but our illusory mind is actually cheating us to somehow think that this world belongs to us. We are making sure we really believe comfortably, all the problems, everything is all taken care, and so many things that we plan and try to really, enjoy this world. We try to squeeze whatever enjoyment that we can get from this world. But the fact is mentioned in the Shastras, as I mentioned, A Brahma Bhuvanani Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna Mam Upetya tu Kaundeya Punarjanma na Vidyate. Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 16th verse. From the highest planetary systems, all the way from top to bottom, what is happening? These repeated births happening, and we are going through the miseries one after another, one after another. So now comes to the situation of what can we do about it? What is our position? What is our goal? And to attain the goal, what we should do? That is when the Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana comes again. We went through the same thing before too, when we were actually reading Jaiva Dharma. So there also we really got into the one. So what is that? What is the Sambandha? The Sambandha is a relation. So in this case, what is the relation that we are talking about? The relation we are talking about is with Lord Krishna, Bhagavan. That is the only relation which is permanent, eternal. But the problem is we are temporarily out of that relation, to temporarily out of that. So what we should do is, we should really make that as a goal to achieve Lord Krishna. To do that is Abhideya. So Sambandha is a relation. Abhideya is the means, that the devotional practices that we do to attain the goal. In this case, Lord Krishna. And what is the Prayojana? So the Prayojana is the real goal, that is to get back to our permanent home. Right? So what does it say? Veda Shastra Kahe Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana Krishna Prapya Sambandha Bhakti Praptyera Sadhana. The Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna, which is called Sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and his acting accordingly is called Abhideya. Returning home, back to Godhead, is the ultimate goal of life, which is called Prayojana. Right? We already went through this so much in detail in the Jaiva Dharma. Those who are fortunate that who attended, you can actually recollect that. Right? Now let us get to the Abhideya now. The Abhideya is the sadhana. That is the means to get to Prayojana, the goal. So Abhideya nama bhakti, prema prayojana, purushartha siromani, prema mahadana. So what is the means to really get to that prayojana? Devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhideya. It is not for the satisfaction of us. That is the thing. That is very important. Abhideya, the basic sadhana, what we do, it may seem that we are actually doing for us as a favor, but it is to satisfy the Lord. So that is the real Abhideya. So that is what is actually said in this sloka. So devotional service or sense activity for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhideya. Because why? Why? It can develop one's original love of Godhead, which is the goal of life. So the goal is goal of the living entity is what? Is to really achieve that Prayojana, which is the greatest wealth. So why do we need to do all this? To achieve the supreme goal. So far, all our previous birth, what we might have done? We might have understood that Krishna is our only relation. We might have understood. Even we did understand. We did not perform any sadhana maybe. Even if we performed any sadhana, we were probably not successful in those sadhana. That is why we are born here again and again. Thus we have wasted so many human births again and again. So if we were successful, then we would not have got this birth. Because Shastras say that if we attain Krishna, we will never be reborn again. Our only sambandha, the relation is Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, we see Lord Krishna is saying that very explicitly. What is he saying? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivashto mattat smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaicha sarvairaham eva vetyo vedanta krit veda vityeva chayaham. I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me alone come remembrance, knowledge, and also forgetfulness. We have forgotten him for a moment. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. But how many jivas really understand this? So he is the one and only one to be known because he is our only relation, as we really went through. Everyone may be reading Gita, Bhagavad Gita, but if the realization does not come, then what is the use? For example, I can tell you an incident, how the sloka was even misinterpreted, and it became a big joke in a big way. Once a Gaudiya sannyasi went to Ooty, South India. In South India, this kind of interpretation is normal. Ooty in South India, famous for coffee and tea estates. So he was, when he was the first time he was visiting the place because of some devotee. And he was given, the whole village came and they all gave, freshly brewed hot cup of tea. So the tea, they call chai. They say chai. So the sannyasi refused, saying that it is an intoxicant. We should not drink it. They were so shocked to really hear that. They could not believe. They politely asked, why Maharaj? The sannyasi said again that it is an intoxicant and we should not drink it. But they again politely told, but our Acharya here, our Guru had taught us Gita, and he said that Krishna has said that everything is tea. And he saying he himself is tea. What? Has he said that? What is this sloka? The sannyasi was very curious. He was asking them. And one of them immediately, somehow maybe brain person, he really brought the sloka again. Sarvasya chaya samkriti sannivashta matta smritir jnanam apohanam chai. Vedai chai sarvairaham eva vetyo vedanta krit veda vidyeva chayaham. So he was explaining. Okay, so he said sarvasya chayaham. I am everywhere as chaya. And also he says veda vidyeva chayaham. Chaya is what we are supposed to learn from Veda. That is why we are doing the tea estate business. Actually, this meaning is not that bad compared to some of the meanings that we are really seeing in Gita translations. That they will claim they are actually the best and everyone is reading, and that is why they are not carrying Bhagavad Gita at all anywhere. So who is this Bhagavan? Where is he? Supreme God Krishna is understood in three ways. Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman. They are different. There is actually there are different ways to understand. So Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, 11th verse says, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sapyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Actually, this is the very sloka where, because when Veda Vyasa was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to be written, via what? Through Lord Ganesh. He was a scribe because he helped in writing Mahabharata before. So then later he really approached, Vedavyasa approached, okay, why don't you really help me on this one as well? So when he really asked, he was popped up. He said, oh, okay, I can help you this time also. But there is one condition, you have to really tell, without stopping. If you stop, then I will stop writing. That's it. You have to continuously keep on telling. Okay, no problem. Then Vedavyasa put a deal in the thing. He said, okay, I also have a deal. Whenever you write, you just understand what the sloka is, then you write. Okay, done. So he started writing. So Vedavyasa went in trance, absolute trance, and it was coming again and again and again, verse by verse. When he came to this verse, Lord Ganesh could not write because he could not understand this. Dual, 2, then 3, what is that? He could not understand. So, there is no Srimad Bhagavatam written from Lord Ganesh. That is why what we really have, it was the one which was told to Parishit Maharaj by Sukadev Goswami, but that also was not written that time. It was written later when Sutadeva Goswami came to Dandakarya forest. That was a time when he was explaining, and that is the one we got, which has 18,000 slokas. So, Bhagavan is the original form, like the sun. You can compare that like a sun. And Brahman is the effulgence spread everywhere from his spiritual body. Paramatma is his reflection in the hearts of every jiva. Okay, so now you see the picture, you will understand clearly what exactly this sloka is meant of. It really means. So who is the original? The original is the sun. The sun who is Bhagavan. So the Bhagavan is original, from whom comes the effulgence, which is Brahman. And he gets also reflected. And that reflection is Paramatma. Like as sun is getting reflected in a just a small part of water. So the same way that Paramatma is coming. Paramatma is only one reflection, because only one Paramatma is only one, but he is reflected in every heart because it's a reflection of one Bhagavan, the same Bhagavan. So it is reflected everywhere. Yes. How can we understand Bhagavan Krishna? Harirhi nirgunai sakchat purusha prakrite paraham sa sarvadrik upatru trashta tam bhajan nirguno bhaved. This also from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto 88th chapter 5th verse. Lord Hari, however, has no connection with the material modes. Nirguna Sakshat. He is the supreme personality of Godhead, Purusha. And the all-seeing eternal witness, who is transcendental to material nature. Prakriti Paraha. So above Prakriti. Prakriti means what? All the material energy. So he is transcendental to material nature. But then how can we really attain? One who worships him becomes similarly free from this material mode. That's what our temporarily relation to this Prakriti is the one to be cut out. But how will be able to cut out that? How? Tam bhajan nirguno bhavet. Tam bhajan. That means you give devotion. Okay. So Hari, Krishna is completely spiritual. Okay. But how can we understand him? Only by bhajan. Otherwise we cannot understand. So tam bhajan nirguno bhavet. Only by devotion to him we can understand Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Only by bhakti. So only by bhakti we can understand and attain Krishna. So that is again stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahyaha sraddhayatma priya satam bhaktihi punati manishta swapakan api sambhavat. Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, 14th chapter, 21st verse. Only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me, This is really, told by Lord Krishna. So only with full faith in me can attain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am naturally dear to my devotees. This is the thing. Paramatma is not impartial. He is not partial. He is impartial. Paramatma is residing in our heart. Even though he is like a reflection, he has a different quality. What is the quality? If you do good things, he will give you good result. If you do bad karma, he will put you, give you all kinds of suffering. So he is like a blind judge, Paramatma. So he is not partial to his devotees. Oh, Paramatma, I am your devotee. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care. It is like, judge, judge is judge. He has to, execute the rules and regulation, whatever the judgment is. So that is why Paramatma, we should not go approach that way. Okay. So bhakti can be done only with Bhagavan Krishna. Okay. So that is why Bhagavan Krishna is saying, I am naturally dear to my devotee. I am partial. Okay. Because Pandavas were actually what? So their devotees. So he was partial to make Pandavas to win the war. So he was partial. Okay, to some extent, not completely. I will tell that later. So I am naturally dear to my devotees who take me as their only goal. That is why when you take that Krishna is my only goal with loving service, what happens? Then he becomes partial. By engaging in such pure devotional service, even the dog eaters can purify themselves from the contamination of their low birth. So anyone can take this path of bhakti. Even the most sinful can change his life by taking to the path of bhakti. So Krishna bhakti is kind of a light. Okay? So the material dealings and whatever that thing, calamities that we are really caught into in the prakriti, it is actually darkness. So Krishna bhakti is like a bright light that is really coming to us. Like when we bring a bright light into darkness, it removes the darkness. Similarly, when we bring Krishna bhakti, it dispels our darkness, the ignorance. So devotion is the only process to see and understand and attain Krishna. Tvam pratyak atmani tada bhagavatyananda Ananda matra upavannat samasta sakstau Bhaktim vidyaya paramam sanakkairavidya Grandim vibatsyasi mamaham iti prarudam. So this is a long sloka. What is it saying? Thus regaining your natural position. What is our natural position? We are pure. We are a soul, pure soul. And that is by also the purity. Our pure nature is to service to the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful reservoir of all pleasure and who lives in all living entities as the super soul too. You will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my and cuts the knots of ignorance. What is ignorance? Ignorance is nothing but lack of knowledge. There is nothing, no entity like darkness. In science, if you ask, what is light? Yes, there is a definition. What is darkness? There is no definition. So there is no specific definition. It says that it is lack of something. Darkness is defined as lack of light. There is nothing, no vastu called darkness. It's lack of something. Same way, what is ignorance? Ignorance is lack of knowledge. Right? So it's a lack of light is darkness. So when we really bring bhakti into our heart, the darkness goes away. This is what a guru does. He operates the disciples' spiritual eyes, not the material eyes. He has nothing to do with the material eyes. You cannot go to a guru to really replace your material eyes. No, he is not interested. He doesn't know what to do that one. That is your problem. So it is in a way like removing the cataract, covering the spiritual eyes. How? How does he remove? He removes that by bringing in the light of torch. That is spiritual knowledge. That spiritual knowledge is what the light is bringing in. Like as I said in the previous slide, then your darkness really goes away. That is why we always pray, Om Anjana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Salakaya Sakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. That's exactly what we are saying. We are saying, O Gurudeva, I offer my humble pranams to you from my inner heart with a torchlight of divine knowledge, not any kind of knowledge. You open my eyes, blinded by darkness of ignorance. So this is why, this is how a guru actually does the work. So then you will see things clearly, and you know what is right, what is wrong, what is actually the evil, what is actually not evil. So everything you will come to know, and especially you will know who is Lord Krishna, and what is your goal, and what to do to achieve the goal. That is all comes from Guru. So the thing is, when Lord Brahma created our body, he put two holes on our face to see the outside world. They are called eyes. These eyes are used only to see outside, not inside. Can you see yourself what is inside you using your eyes? No. Also, the fact is that our eyes to see the external world are also defective. We really discussed about yesterday that 4 kinds of defects. Without the help of light, we cannot see anything. And we cannot see anything across the wall. And if the light is too bright, we cannot see. If it is darkness, we cannot see. So that's what the Katha Upanishad is saying. Paranchikani Vyatrana Swayam Bhustasmat Paran Pasyati Nandaratman Kachidiraha Pratyagatmanamaik Sadavruta Sakshuramruta Vamichan. Lord Brahma created the senses, outgoing. Therefore, one sees outside and not the Atman. We don't see our soul. We never see that. Who sees that? No. Or for everything, for our enjoyment or whatever, we always see outside. We deal with outside, thinking that is why secretly Bhagavan said, nobody will bother me, and I will sit inside his heart, and happy there. He is not going to disturb me. I want this. I want no, because he is actually he's like a loose horse running all the way outside. So that's what it's saying, right? So we do not turn our eyes to look inside. So okay, this is the problem with us. Devotion with the help of Guru opens our heart, opens our spiritual eyes. So that's what this particular sloka is saying again from Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhaktyaham ekayagragyah Shraddhayatma priyak satam Bhaktihi punati manishta Swapakanapi sambhavat. Only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can obtain me. I am naturally dear to the devotee. That's exactly, we really covered this one. So here we are now, I'm connecting how Guru is helping you to, first of all, open the spiritual eyes and then engage in the devotional activities. And that will bring the way you are actually doing sadhana bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? Sadhana bhakti means you are developing your bhakti, which is not something artificial. Bhakti every jiva has. Every jiva has their devotion, but it is covered because our desires, our material desires. So by doing sadhana bhakti, we are actually what? By the devotional activities, our bhakti is really coming out. So it is really coming out from a covered pot. So we are actually basically taking it out. So kriti satya bhavet satya bhava sa sadhaniyan nabida Nitya sittasya bhavasya prakatyam hridi satyata. Action of the senses that produces the state of bhava. Bhava means bhakti, devotional feeling, is called sadhana bhakti. The state of bhava bhakti that is attained with is satyata. Satyata means satya. Right? Satya means basically that's the prayojana. Is an eternal Sai Baba, which is not the Sai Baba. What is the Sai Baba? The Sai Baba is something which is related to our Siddha Deha. Every jiva has devotional attitude towards Krishna, but in different levels. Sanda Baba, or Dasya Baba, or Sakya Baba, or Vatsalya Baba, or Madhurya Baba. These are all already made. You already have something. So that is why only when certain things comes, you are really awakened. If you are a Vaiti Bhakta, as soon as you hear about Vaikunta, oh yeah, you jump, because you go there. So the same way, the Sai Baba is something related to your Sittasya Bhavasya. So look at Nitya Sittasya Bhavasya. Nitya Sittasya means that's the Nitya Sitta Deha. That has a Bhava. That Bhavasya. Okay, so that is coming from the heart. Hriti Satyata. When you really do the devotional service, that actually comes out. And how do you know? So what are the characteristics of the sadhana bhakti? Sravanadi kriya, taraswarupa lakshana, tadastha lakshane, upajaya premadana. The spiritual activities of hearing, chanting, remembering, and so forth are the natural characteristics of devotional service. The marginal characteristics is that it awakens the pure love for Krishna. Okay, so that's all it is about it. But everything in our life has proper timing too. See, that is the thing. When to do all these things? The sadhana bhakti, when should I do? Everything has a perfect time. Other time also you can do. What age is to study? When you are young. And what age is to work? When you have studied and then got a career and you have a strong body to work. And what age is to retire? When your body is actually feeling that now I have to really retire from all these things. It is not possible to study when suppose we are at very old age. You cannot even walk properly. Are you thinking that I am really going to get a PhD degree or something? It's not possible. So everything has a timing. A perfect thing that is already assigned. So the same way, here it is saying, when you train a child in taking shelter of Krishna, then that will become nature of the child. The thing is, again, as Prahlad Maharaj is really saying, Srimad Bhagavatam, what is the right age to really start engaging? Is when you are a child. After that, you cannot really grasp so many things. It is like, a child's mind is like it's a clean sheet of paper. It is not contaminated. It is very, very easy to really write anything there. So they really take it very, very nicely. But you have to be very careful though. You should not teach poison. You should teach only the scriptural thing. Look at here. All the thing I am talking here, I am putting the scriptural injection. The things, all the things are all scriptural. Evidence is coming here. But you have to be very careful what you teach. If you teach nonsense, then you are actually spoiling the child. So what is the right age? Very young, even 5 years old. Dhruva Maharaj really went to forest to do the tapas at 5 years old. Prahlad Maharaj really started doing bhajan and making all kinds of things with 5 years old. The age 5 is very, very special. Okay? What is the real sadhana? A lot of people get confused. What is the sadhana? Many people think that sadhana means doing this gymmic yogi exercise or doing some gymmic Ashtanga yoga and so on. No, that is not the sadhana bhakti what we are talking about. Doing karma yoga or doing Ashtanga yoga or doing jnana yoga, they are not devotion. They are not devotional activities. They may be steps leading to one day to bhakti yoga, but that's not guaranteed. But they by themselves are not bhakti. Only by bhakti, Krishna can be realized. That is why in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is really written there. Jnana karma yoga dharma naga Krishna vasa hetu eka prema bhakti rasa. By following the paths of all the speculative philosophic knowledge, Jnana yoga, or the fruitive activity karma yoga, or mystic yoga, Ashtanga yoga, Kundalini yoga, these yoga, Raja yoga, these yoga, all kinds of things to control your senses, one cannot satisfy Krishna. Because it's like child's play. A child is trying to imitate that he is really doing some fantastic thing. which the parents, so he will only laugh. We'll only laugh what the child is really trying to tell, that he is the supreme or something. So these kind of things are gimmicks. They cannot really attract Krishna. And he will only smile, laugh at all this nonsense. So all these yogas are like a child trying to show some gimmicks only. Krishna has no interest in these. We have to understand. So, by this, he is fully confirmed. Take this sloka, put in your heart that Bhakti Yoga is the only means to Krishna. Stamped. Then what is the sadhana bhakti give? What is the prayojana? Prayojana means the result. Prayojana of sadhana bhakti, what does it give? It brings devotional feelings in our heart. It manifests bhava, the sweet mellow of devotional bliss. And it takes us to the intermediate level, to prema, intermediate level only. Okay, prema is something very high. And in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 15th sloka, Lord Krishna says, Mam upetya punar janma dukkalayam asasvatam napnuvandi mahatmanaha samsittim paramam gata. Our children actually know this many of these slokas by heart. So what is it saying? After attaining me, the great souls who are his bhaktas, who are my devotees in devotion, never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries. Why? Because they have attained the highest perfection. There is nothing more than that. By attaining Krishna, you attain the highest. That is what it is. And thus, that devotion will take you to the Uttama Bhakti, which is the topmost level. Anyabhilashita sunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, anukuliyana krishnanu, silanam bhaktir uttama. Uninterrupted, loving service without any desire of jnana or karma, but aiming only to give happiness to Krishna is pure bhakti. It is also called Raganuga Bhakti. How do you do our Bhakti Sadhana? A question may arise. How do you do our Bhakti Sadhana? Bhakti Sadhana means engaging all our senses on Krishna. Eyes, seeing Krishna deities and his devotees. Purpose of eyes, use the eyes. Use the ears, hearing Harikatha, like you are all hearing. And bhajans, we sing bhajans about Krishna. That's what we do every Friday. No, smelling the flowers offered to Krishna. Tongue, chanting and speaking only about Krishna. Mouth, honor prasadam offered to Krishna. Touch the feet of deities and Vaishnavas. If we are fortunate to have natural inclination to do all these and accept the shelter of a genuine Guru, then this may be your last birth. You don't have to be born again. However, there are 3 levels of sadhana bhakti. Vaiti sadhana bhakti, bhava sadhana bhakti, and prema bhakti. Here I am not mentioning prema sadhana bhakti. There is not like that. Prema is attained when you come to the bhava sadhana bhakti, and then it gets manifested not because of any more sadhana. It is because of your nature. You really, your love itself will actually come out. It's not sadhana. So that's why it's called prema bhakti. It's not prema sadhana bhakti. Vaiti sadhana bhakti, yes. By doing sadhana, you can get vaiti bhakti. Then by doing sadhana bhakti, you can get bhava. That's the next level. Okay, Vaiti bhakti is a low level. Bhava sadhana bhakti is the second level. And then the third one is the prema bhakti. And what are the destinations? Suppose somebody just says, all right, this is my ultimate goal. I am going to do only my 12th grade. I am done. I am not going to go more than that. I am not going to study more than that. What do they get? Probably a job in the gas station. Like that, so when stops, they get satisfied with Vaiti sadhana bhakti, they go to Vaikuntha. And when they get Bhava bhakti, they really want to go to college now. They will be outskirts of Goloka, not inside Goloka. Outskirts of Goloka, there are so many levels. Only when somebody is really taking the, going to the third level, Prema Bhakti, they get Goloka Vrindavan. But my question is, will a pure Bhakta, is a Prema Bhakta, will ever hanger to go to Goloka? Because for Vaiti Bhaktas, they always hanger to go to Vaikuntha. But will a Prema Bhakta really ask for Goloka? Never and never and never. That is what is very important. Yes, so we have seen a Kamanuga. So the Kamanuga is what? Because you really, heard from my two-part Harikathas. Right? Their mood is to enjoy the world. Kamanugas are, the mood is to enjoy the world. Right? So Kamanugas are not even considered as Bhakta of Krishna. No, because it's out. They are even out of the Bhakti that we are talking about. Because why? Because their sense gratifying psychology, they will be inclined to worship only the Devatas, demigods. That is what Krishna says clearly. Because what? How? Because they lost their intelligence. And what? Out of the, why they are losing the intelligence? Because of their sense desires. So they are getting lost there. Okay, so their topmost interest, psychologically, they are glued to their family, their wealth, their fame, their beauty, their whatever it is. He has no idea about Guru at all. Kamanuga and Guru has nothing to do with it. Kamanugas will never ever even understand there is a need for Guru. Okay, this is very important. He is ignorant about all the spiritual side. However, a Vaiti Bhakta, they are way higher. A Vaiti Bhakta is way higher. Their aspiration is to attain Vaikuntha and enjoy forever. That is fine. But he will accept a Guru. Mostly a Kula Guru. But a Kula Guru is not recommended by the Shastras. No. Gurudeva has said clearly, the spiritual master must be a pure devotee of the Lord. This precludes the Kula Guru or traditional family Guru. A family Guru or called Kula Guru is not a real Guru at all. A Guru should be chosen only with the will of the individual and arranged by Paramatma. Paramatma is going to tell you. It cannot be by one's kula or what are the family that is coming through. No. However, by the Vaiti Marga, a Kula Guru takes predominant role. Okay, that is a defect actually. But our Gurudeva has said that I have really put that one. For a Vaiti Bhakta, worldly opulences may come because they are still having the desire is there. Not as bad as Kamanugas. Even Mukti, they can get it. But never Krishna Prema. Look at here. But not Krishna Prema. They cannot get it. In Vaikuntha, there are 5 kinds of Mukti. Salokya. Salokya means living in Vaikuntha. Sarshi means attaining there. Same opulence as Lord Narayana. Wow, so much opulence. Samipya is being, being an associate of Lord Narayana and serve in Dasya Bhava. Sarupya, attaining 4-handed form of Lord Narayana. 4 hands you will have. If you want extra hands, if you are not satisfied with the 2 hands, what do you have? Then go to go to Vaikuntha. Then Ekatva, even merging in Lord, which is not desirable for bhaktas. This merging is not actually happening there with the Lord's body. It is in Brahmajyoti. Then Prema Bhakta of Krishna never asked for moksha. What are those? As I mentioned, Salokya, Sarshti, Samipya. Sarupyaikatvam apiyuta Diyamanam na grananti Vinamatsevanam jana. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, Sarshi, Samipya, Sarupya or Ekatva, whatever I really just now mentioned. Even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. These things very easy for the Lord to give to any Bhakta. But a mood of a Sutta Bhakta, even Bhava Bhakta, is way higher. Nagam Vande Tava Charanayor Dvandvam Matvandva Heto Kumbi Pakam Gurumapi Hare Narakam Napanetum Ramya Rama Mrudanulata Nandane Napirandum Bhave Bhave Hridaya Bhavane Bhavayeyam Bhavandam. It is said that Kulashekara Alvar got a darshan of Lord Krishna. But some say that he actually got the darshan of Lord Rama. Whatever be the case, eventually he renounced his whole kingdom. He was a king. Kingdom. South India it happened, Kulashekara Alvar. And he wrote this Mukundamala Stotra. Mukundamala, this is the fourth verse. O Lord Hari, I pray to your lotus feet not because you want me to really stop my birth and death problem, or to be saved, to myself to be saved from going to hell, Kumbhipaka hell. Kumbhipakam Gurum Abhi, it's very, very dread, very, very miserable hell. Or do I pray to your lotus feet for enjoying with the beautiful woman who reside in the gardens of heaven? No. Why do I pray? Bhave Bhave Hridaya Bhavane Bhavayevam Bhavandam. What is that? So this is saying, I pray to your lotus feet. Only so forth. You may be giving birth after birth, not a problem for me. But I should remember you all the time in my heart so that I can serve you. This is the mood of a Bhava Bhakta, higher than Vaiti Bhakta. Actually, Srila Prabhupada liked this Mukundamala Stotra, he got good. Because he saw, unless the Vaiti Bhaktas who decide for Vaikunta, he got really attracted. However, the Lord did not give permission to go more than this fourth sloka. Only his devotees later completed that. So this fourth sloka is a jewel compared to all the other slokas. So now the topic, the chapter we are covering today is actually about topmost devotion. We discuss about it as explained in the chapter. Because what I covered after reading, whatever that Maharaj Swamiji has written there, after reading, I just reproduced it in a way that you just simply listen rather than reading all the difficult slokas. Right? And here, however, you have to know that who is the topmost worshipper. The topmost worshipper is Radharani. It is to be understood that a Raganuga devotee is actually touched by the blessings of Radharani alone. Radharani is the only one who can give Raganuga Bhakti. Not Krishna. Okay, not Krishna. Because you have to have Raganuga Bhakti to serve Krishna, to have loving. He is the object of love. But who is going to be really blessing you to really give that? It's Radharani. That is why only Lord Chaitanya, it said that only he can give Raganuga Bhakti. Why? Because he is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So many slokas are there. I don't want to keep on talking more and more slokas. He says, yes, only with his mercy one can really have the Raganuga Bhakti. What is the nature of Raganuga? They will be always chanting. Not only that, they will never ever have any greed. They will not have any greed in enjoying at all. Sadhanam laive yathala bete santosha yaita achara kare bhakti dharma posha. What is this? The Raganuga is the highest level of devotion. And how can you recognize Raganuga? This is the sloka. If one is chanting all the time, the holy name all the time, and one is always satisfied whatever he has, whatever he gets. Maybe sometime he doesn't have anything to eat. He is fine. But his what? His full attention is not to enjoy. Only to think about Lord and sing for the Lord and serve the Lord and serve the Vaishnavas. That is what this sloka is talking about. This is the classical nature of Raganuga. Okay? What are the two things? They will be chanting all the times. They are always satisfied. They will never hunger for possessing things. Now we are going to about to finish. Two more slides I have. Now I want to complete that by saying, what is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures? Here is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. Specifically recommended for this Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Nama vinu kalikale nahi aradharma sarvamandra saranama yeyi satra marma. In this age of Kali, because now the Kali Yuga is going on, this is going to go for 432,000 years, of which only 5,000 and some years have been elapsed. So in this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all the Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all the scriptures. The power of Krishna Nama. So we talked about Prayojana, we talked about Sambandha, the relation, right? And our temporary relations and permanent relation. So our goal is to really revive that relation. So do the devotional activity, sadhana, right? Because this whole book is about art of sadhana. And then what the prayojana is actually getting what? Krishna prema. How that is coming is through the nama, the power of nama. So what is that? So now the thing is, when devotees engage in devotion, they will see the power of Krishna Nama themselves. When Krishna Nama slightly manifests in them, it will show his spiritual form. Siddha Deha. They will see, oh, I am so and so. It will make him ever attracted and enchanted by the Leelas of Krishna. His attraction is not going to be buying more homes or buying real estate or buying this, buying a car, buying this, nothing. They have nothing to do with that. They are completely out of that. They will be only attracted. Only attraction is Krishna Leela. Talking about Krishna. Singing about Krishna. Right? This is the only thing that I am chanting his names. And when the Krishna Nama further goes high and fully manifested, what will happen? It takes a bhakta to Braja, that is Goloka, directly. And it also shows the eternal role of the bhakta in Braja. Because the Nama manifestation gives what? He actually shows his spiritual form. But his role, as what is his work, what exactly he is going to be doing there in Goloka, is not revealed at that stage. But when fully manifested, he will know completely his eternal role. But he will never reveal until he leaves the body. Okay? So it said that Premara Kalikkanam Adbhuda Raseradam Heno Balakaraye Prakas Isat Vikashi Punaha Dekai Nija Rupa Guna Chitta Hariloya Krishna Pas. This is from Charanagati. The holy name is the bird of the flower of divine love, the abode of devotions, wonderful mellows. Such is the power that he manifests. He means what? The Nama. That although he displays his power only slightly, he reveals his own divine form and qualities that will steal away the heart of the devotees to Krishna. They will be just flying to Krishna. There is nothing in their world other than Krishna.